If you want a proper performance truck, there's only one country to look at, and that is the United States. Back in the day, we had a GMC Cyclone that had a twin turbo V6, and that was very quick for its day. That was a smaller size truck. Then we had the actual original F-150 Lightning. That was a quick truck for its time. But before we had Raptors and before we had Ram TRXs, we had this. This is the Dodge Ram 1500 SRT10. This thing has a Viper engine under the hood. It's an 8.3 liter V10, and it produces 500 horsepower and 525 pound-feet of torque. And up until the TRX came out, which was around 2020, this was the most powerful production-made truck ever. That's pretty crazy because it came out in 2004. They made this truck from 2004 till 2006. I love reviewing cars and trucks that are icons. We'll never see anything like this being made ever again. And to prove that this truck now is an icon and has legendary status and is in fact rare, they only made 10,000 of these during the production years, is that it's holding its value, or I should say going up in value. Back in 2005, when this truck was originally bought, they would start at around 45,000, but if you add on a couple options and so on, MSRP would always be around 50 grand. This truck with 37,000 miles on it from 2005, almost 20 years old, is selling for $38,600. This thing is becoming a bit of a unicorn, and it's as American as you can get. Pickup, huge engine under the hood, horrific gas mileage. What more can you ask for? Now, even though it's almost 20 years old, this thing looks so menacing. It is so badass looking. It's got this gigantic hood, a hood scoop right here. We got like an almost splitter looking lower part of the front fascia. We got a gigantic grille. Of course, we need a lot of air intake here because, again, this is an 8.3 liter V10 from the Viper. Actually, this was the cheapest way to get a Viper V10 because Vipers back in the day were way more expensive than this truck. And as we can also see here, the previous owner put a cold air intake to help with the cooling for the 8.3 liter V10. Just look at this thing in here. Freaking Viper engine. How awesome is that? And I've always personally thought it was kind of corny when pickups have a spoiler, always thinking how functional can it really be? Now granted, pickups are extremely light in the rear because they are pickups. They're supposed to be able to take a lot of stuff in the bed, and that, you know, weighs it down. But when Dodge were making this truck, apparently they did very extensive wind tunnel testing, and this spoiler is supposed to be sitting exactly where it's supposed to be sitting for, I guess, some downforce. Since it is a truck with a V10 in it, you know, you have to put the badging here as well. Viper Performance SRT10, so no one mistakens what's under the hood of this awesome truck. Previous owner also put a MagnaFlow exhaust on here, so while we're back here, we might as well listen to it. I mean, that might be one of the better sounding trucks ever. Although the Viper V10 is not known to, you know, sound exotic, it's more of a muscle car type of V10 sound. I mean, it's still so cool though. This truck has a V10. Now, the truck that we have in today's video, as we all can see, is a quad cab. So Dodge made the SRT10 in either a regular cab or the more practical one that we have, a quad cab, so you have actual room for people. Now, the difference between the more practical SRT10 with the quad cab is that came with an automatic transmission, a 4-speed. Now, the regular cab, that came with a 6-speed manual, and the regular cab also weighed about 500 pounds less. The regular cab would also do 0 to 60 in 4.9. The quad cab here does it in 5.4. So we're gonna jump inside and take a look at the interior of a 2015 Dodge Ram, which obviously this truck is based on. The difference is obviously the performance parts, the engine mainly. It also came with 22-inch wheels, and these are good looking wheels in my opinion. So quickly open up the rear seat here. Most interesting part is obviously getting out on the road and driving this thing. Not all that much room for a quad cab, I have to be honest here. I'm used to filming F-150s that are crew cabs, and yeah, the room back there is way better than this. It's a 2005, so we don't have like a bunch of stuff back here, you know, USB ports and climate control buttons and all that. We have cup holders though, and half leather, half what is this, cloth or Alcantara? I don't even know. Again, it's a 2005. You know, interior definitely is dated, but this is kind of what it looked like back then. I do like these window toggle button switches looking things. Now we get a regular key with a fob to lock and unlock, and you put the key in here, and this is cool. It has, you gotta turn the key first. It has a red starter button. Oops. There we go. The whole truck just, you can tell there's a big engine under the hood. I do love these gauges though. They definitely have a performance look to them, at least from, you know, back in the day in 2005. So obviously fuel gauge, we'll talk more about fuel economy here shortly. We got voltage there, tachometer, speedometer, and then we have oil pressure, and then coolant, and then we have the oil temp up here on the A pillar, which is kind of cool. Up here we have the trip computer. Now I reset this on the way here, just driving highway, and since then we've gotten 10.9. Dodge said back in the day that you should get 9 in the city and 14 on the highway. Yeah, I mean, if you're on it with this big V10 heavy truck, I would assume that it's way lower than this. And then here we just have temperature gauges. Very simple, very plasticky. Open this up, get a little cubby storage there. This folds up like that. And that is for the purpose of, I guess, having a third person sitting right here. Not that there's a lot of room, but yeah. We got SRT10 badging over here on the passenger side by the glove box. But enough about that. What does this thing drive like? 500 horsepower, 525 pound-feet of torque in 2005. Let's do try to do a little 0 to 60 here. All right, so we're just gonna boost it a little bit here and then go for it. Oh, the tires chirp a little bit. So that was 60. And we got some tire spin. That was pretty fun. I mean, it's not quick in today's modern standards of, you know, performance trucks like a Raptor R and a TRX. Even a regular Raptor would, you know, spank this thing in a 0 to 60. Today's performance trucks are more off-road oriented. This is more of a street truck. It has street tires on. It's just like a typical Dodge muscle car. It's just a truck. Oh, it chirps when it shifts. I mean, it's a beast. It's brutal. I dig it. And pretty much, as always, when I film these, I guess, a little more unique vehicles, they're always from LW Automotive. So huge thanks to them for letting me film this truck today. If you guys are interested in this truck or anything else that they have to offer, they have a pretty unique inventory. Hit them up. I'll leave their contact information in the description below. They ship vehicles all over the country and all that good stuff. As we have mentioned, this is a pretty iconic truck nowadays. It's starting to demand more and more money because, again, they're never going to make anything like this. And in about 5 years, this thing will be classified as a classic vehicle, I guess. And as we mentioned earlier, just to emphasize how brutal and before its time this truck was when it came out for the 2004 model year, up until 2020, when the TRX came out with this 702 horsepower, this was the most powerful production-made pickup ever. Because the standard Raptor, or the Gen 2 Raptor, had 450 horsepower with its twin-turbo EcoBoost V6. The first Gen Raptor had 305, I think, with the Triton. until it got to 6.2 liter, and then it had 411 horsepower. So from 2004 to 2020, this was like the horsepower king of trucks. Now the Raptor R is getting 720 horsepower for 2024. TRX is going out of production. They don't make trucks like this anymore. This thing is amazing. It is so damn cool. Now, since the SRT10 was more of a street truck and not off-road oriented with off-road tires and so on, this thing actually had a top speed, or still has, of 154 miles an hour. So this was a really, really, really quick vehicle in general back then, which makes it even more iconic. I mean, how cool is that? So being almost 20 years old, as we mentioned with the interior, is that it's very kind of plain. Steering wheel, we only have cruise control buttons, and also we're on the highway, windows are closed and everything. You hear a lot of wind noise, which you shouldn't really be doing when you're driving normal highway speeds. There's a lot of whooshing, so almost like the side view mirrors are too big, something like that. But that gives a truck like this a character. When you stomp on it, you hear that V10 just roar, and then the exhaust crackles a little bit. I mean, this thing has just character, man. I love it. So the purpose for me to even make a video on an older truck like this is obviously just to experience what it was like back in 2005 when you bought a Dodge Ram 1500 SRT10. That was the most badass truck that you could come by back then. And now in 2024, it's still extremely badass, but it can't be compared obviously with a modern pickup and all its luxury features and performance and all that. I mean, my old TRX did 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds. That's absolutely insane for an almost 7,000 pound vehicle. These trucks now are becoming so rare that they're going to become collector's items, which is why they still demand a high price tag. So for me personally, I don't really know what else I can say. I'm just glad that I got to experience it. So thanks once again to LW Automotive for letting me film this truck in today's video. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. See, the guy that passed me right there, he was... People know what this is. It's iconic, it's badass. It is the Dodge Ram 1500 SRT10. I'll see you guys in the next one.